Hello again. Time Agent Brendan here for the first of a slurry of saloons. Yes, if that's the most incorrect collective noun I can muster at this hour. Gosh, you've only knocked back a sip of carrot juice in the 1980s TARDIS with good old Mel when she was on that fitness regime. You've only just started sipping that carrot juice while you're cycling, and already we've got, Shooty shooting his mouth off again. We've got Rtd'S speaking out, and we've got the BBC continuing to live in some Neverland, a media organisation acting like Alice through the looking glass. They released their annual report, if that's what you want to call it. I will call it the Matrix mashup from now on, really. But yes, they released their annual report. Here it is. Oh, sorry. Oh, gosh, how can I do that? They released their annual report, their Matrix mashup, to self-promote and self-justify the mountains of money they squander on vanity projects. Now, all we know from our own companies or schools or public service bodies that a report written about themselves will have as much truth and transparency in it as the Matrix after the Master of Valiard have been tampering with it. Hence my photograph. So we look today at how the BBC are trying to tell a story about Doctor Who that is far from the truth. You just have to lift up the carpet to see where the rubbish has been swept and look in the opposite direction to where they are pointing. The BBC pretending to be open and transparent about Doctor Who, of course, is like the Cybermen saying they will sponsor and manage a hospital ward for those suffering from numerous chronic diseases with their metallic fingers crossed at the same time. We know they're up to mischief. While I'm at it, I will be open and transparent too. Please give this show a like, click on your notifications, and please adorn me with your subscription if you haven't already. There you go, BBC. Doesn't hurt to be truthful, does it? I didn't think so. Now, I know we've had denials that Doctor Who's struggling in the ratings, more of which later, but the BBC failed to explain or justify or acknowledge they have a problem with dwindling licence payers either. 500,000 stopped paying their licence fees between 2022 and 23. So Doctor Who Returning, written by a political showrunner with a provocative agenda of stories, characters and dialogue, is hardly going to help righting the sinking ship, is it? Those 500,000 who cancelled their licence payments will have been sick and tired of being lectured to on Brexit, COVID, immigration, and the cultural political issues by the BBC. And now Doctor Who has returned to do the same. A toxic combination that certainly won't arrest the death spiral of the BBC. So, it was in this context that the annual BBC report, its grand expensive exercise in marking its own homework, was published. Now, I have written pupil reports in my time, I've discussed students' progress to parents, I've seen schools try to show their best side when we have an Ofsted inspection, I've seen the brochures and online content we created to paint the rosiest picture that would make the eye of Orion feel dowdy and dull. So let's be honest, I know how people hate honesty, hate the truth, and like to indulge in some fanciful statements, especially when they're in power. The happiness patrol of prose and print, as I put it. Helen A on Terra Firma. Helen A on Terra Alpha would be so proud of this BBC annual report and what it had to say about Doctor Who. Oh, yes. Ratings continue to grow. Now, that's what it says here in the headline. Ratings continue to grow. Now, food in shops has an expiry date. Flowers have a flowering season, but then die back. What is this sudden elixir of life that means season 1 episodes continue to grow forevermore? The Sisterhood of Khan need to get onto this. Forget the Sacred Flame. You just need BBC iPlayer and the Whoniverse to keep promoting your wares like some persistent car boot sale hawker. It's worth 50p. Honestly, I would only really be into this if they actually put one of the classics up and said Robots of Death we're doing a big sell on, so to speak, and you could actually see the figures and the original figures, obviously, of Overnights from Robots of Death and say Space Babies, and see how they both compete with each other. Space Babies will need, I think, a millennium to catch up with stuff like Robots of Death and Deadly Assassin. It'll never catch up. But the headlines are only about this new season, which is weird. Very weird. And this is from the Ministry of Truth. Sorry, the Happiness Project. No, sorry. The BBC Annual Report. Let me get this right. I've been taking the truth serum. Right. May I remind us all that Deadline only recently concluded that there were loud noises in media circles, like brooding augury in the Stones of Blood, that Doctor Who may not last beyond 2 seasons and its future was in the balance. So I'm just balancing this with the annual report, which makes it all sound wonderful. And of course, RTD himself, in his rambling rhetoric, as I call it, straight from the straitjacket, he said on Variety in the interview, "We've shot season 2, but we are only halfway through season 2. We've got all those months of post to come." Right, so we get it. They're filmed, but they're doing the post-production. So no decisions yet, and we are happy making it at the moment. We hope it continues forever. Now, being savvy with English as I am, and I also watched his body language, it was the usual RTD gritted teeth smile. So no decisions yet, and we are happy making it at the moment. We hope it continues forever. Now, it's the royal we. I think from seeing that, I started to believe maybe he is not continuing. He has been going on since the Imagine documentary with Alan Yentob. Look at my stream. It's almost my 3rd program done in around January with me and Hugh. In that, he said to Alan Yentob, he has planned season 2 then, and he's writing the climax for season 3 and that will be shown in 2026. So he's writing ahead. We heard recently he was saying, whatever the news is, I'm writing already stories in season 3. Not a word of it at this interview. And if you think about that, he's pulled back on mentioning season 3 and writing anything. He says, no decision yet, and we are happy making it at the moment. Now, the at the moment is one of those subconscious little kind of iterisms that you just throw it up when you have doubt in what you're saying, but you're trying to fill space. Look at that again. So no decisions yet. I mean, he was asked a question about the future of Doctor Who and will it go on forever, so to speak. And he just says, we've shot season 2 and we're halfway through the production. That wasn't the question because he's buying time. So no decisions yet. And we are happy making it at the moment. I think that gives a lot away in our BBC annual report of everything's hunky-dory routine. He's actually given a bit away there, I think. Now, the BBC annual report itself, the Ministry of Truth, has said some amazing things. I hope you can cope with them. It says, Doctor Who, BBC praises its show in the annual report. It says it's highly acclaimed. Oh, well, it got a family award in LA, didn't it? Of course. Let me not forget that. In LA. Family award. It had reviews that were muted at best. No AI figures, no audience appreciation figures. Laughing stock on some media outlets as if it's a woke fest now. So that's hardly highly acclaimed. I wouldn't push it that far. It also says it's the highest rating drama under 35s. Now, we've heard this. How much now? Remember, we have not seen any actual figures. They keep saying it as a statement, but where are the numbers? Come on, I'm a logopolitan. Show me the numbers. The only figures I have seen and shared with you on other saloons, they're in the low 100,000s. So that's hardly cosmic, is it? So again, let's be careful with these reports, BBC, about saying, isn't one of your programs so amazing? And let's not forget what RTD has said himself in San Diego. Talking about the audiences, he said, in Britain, certainly, we're getting the biggest, youngest audience of any drama or any show on television. And that's the audience that is deserting television. So we are delighted. Right, okay. It's a bit like that earlier quote from him. He was asked about the future of Doctor Who, and he just said, we have been filming and we have production to do. And basically, he was given a different answer while he bought time. This time, what is he saying this time? He's saying that on TV audience size, we've found the people who don't watch TV, and a few 100,000 of them are watching us. Woo! Now, you know the debates about this. Now, remember, he has said, and I did it in my first or second saloon, by the way. He said in an early interview, it was either LA Times, he was talking to so many different ones, and he said he believes existing Doctor Who fans will come along for the ride. So his focus is on getting new ones, and he thinks they've done amazing to get a few 100,000 under 35s watching who never watch TV. And now he's also assuming that we will all hang around. And I think that's the big mistake. Okay? Big assumption. Assumptions are dangerous. We've been insulted, ostracized, baited, triggered, provoked. They've changed the show, wrecked canon, taken the mick, really. All to seek a small, if non-existent audience, and meanwhile assume the others are so thick or sheep-like that they will just go bah and continue watching. And the annual Matrix mashup, Happiness Patrol, Ministry of Truth continues. Overnight figures are no longer providing an accurate picture of those who watch drama. I'm sorry, it's English. It's English. Let's see the truth here. Overnight fingers are no longer an accurate picture of those who watch drama. I think it's crystal clear who's watching drama. Fewer than before. Fewer than Jodie's era. Fewer than the Sylvester McCoy era. That's the accurate truth. I think it would challenge the word accurate. I think I should be challenged. They would prefer smoke screens and thrown up red herrings of TV measurements. I know they would. RTD, remember in 2005, said he wanted to bring back family viewing. Now they seem to want to let it die. BBC apathy. BBC disinterest in their viewers. I will persist. It is a very accurate picture, and allowing people to be counted on several viewings on several devices for mere seconds is hardly accurate. So I think the overnights are as accurate as they always were. But the BBC can continue to fiddle the books in its own annual report, while Rome burns. Continue, BBC. We're all convinced. It goes on. Whoa. The content of the annual report highlights coverage of the Eurovision, which the BBC does every year. So, right, we've done what we always do. And it also mentioned the Doctor Who anniversary specials. So notice they haven't mentioned season 1. They mentioned the anniversary specials. I think there's a little hint there. Like excited parents that their child is in the school nativity, or their child has been used for a photograph in the school prospectus. The BBC are excitedly telling us that one of the content highlights is the word, with the anniversary specials. Remember those? All pronoun and female presenting, Isaac Newton love bashing and white brief bearing, bi-generation hocus pocus. Those non-specials. If those were a highlight, this will be a sour read. Almost like the drudge of that life doing equations on logobottom. I cannot say it. If that is a highlight of their years for the BBC, right? Really, seriously, then this annual report must be a sour read. Almost like the drudge of being a logopolitan in those Brisbane sweatshops that Tegan quite rightly pointed out. Right, I've done it the second time. You see, I can do it 2 takes. There you go. Now, it goes on. It talks about the legacy impact of the show. Oh, you mean the old stuff? So basically, in their annual report about how amazing Doctor Who is now, they mentioned the non-specials only, and then they mentioned the legacy impact. Basically, the Whoniverse. Basically, the repeats on iPlayer. Basically, Sarah Jane Adventures. Basically, Torchwood. All that stuff is what they're talking about. Old stuff. Yeah? And they talk about it. All this money coming into Doctor Who, and it's a great industry in Wales. It's a catalyst for investment in South Wales' creative cluster. See, they call it a creative cluster now. It wasn't there in 2005. The BBC Wales was given all this money to do Doctor Who. And of course, from there, the seeds have grown and they've got a creative cluster, they call it now. But I'm not going to reward them for that because I'm from the Northeast when they shut BBC Newcastle, when they shut down the BBC mailbox in Birmingham and Pebble Mill and moved stuff to Salford and Manchester and Cardiff. Sorry, we just moving the chairs on a sinking ship here. No, no, no. Not being convinced by it. And I'm certainly not going to go, oh, I'm so proud there's a creative cluster in South Wales that's been going now for 20 years because it's had Bad Wolf and the BBC. Oh, sorry. Is that the same thing? The BBC Wales mob created Bad Wolf with their same context. Yeah, that's what it is. So BBC Money started it and helped a private industry later on to really launch itself with the reputation Bad Wolf from Doctor Who. Right, I get it now. Public service money, taxpayers' money has helped people do very, very nicely in one area of the world. But it's only done well there by taking from somewhere else. So I'm not going to do lots of claps saying it's made a few $100 million down there when it's taken a few $100 million from up here. That's nothing to applaud, BBC. It just means you're like some fiefdom and you've decided the Welsh Cardiff, the province, needs a bit of money to be thankful to you, and the Newcastle mob can go and clear the desks. Yeah, I'm not buying all that annual report nonsense. And they say Doctor Who celebrated its 60th anniversary in style. Right, style. And that it's got a touring educational exhibition, Worlds of Wonder, which I've seen and I did like. I think I saw it in Liverpool. But this verbiage and prose, it needs challenging. What style did it come back in? Or are they hinting in their language at the failure of Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker by hinting these three specials had style and colour, unlike the unmentionable dark times? Tell the truth and shame the devil, as they say. Be an honest broker. They bigged up the Jodie Whittaker era. They bigged up Chris Chibnall until they didn't. And this is the nonsense that we are supposed to just buy into every year from a public service broadcaster who should be transparent. Never has been, but should be. And of course, it goes on about the huge audiences for homegrown storytelling in all its genres, including Doctor Who. Huge. What huge? How is this measured? By what comparison? Is huge 2 million? Is huge just what they say it is? And we just have to kind of go, oh, right, you said it, so it must be true. Yes, I applaud that they launched the Whoniverse, as they say there, and they repeat the 134.6 million impact on Wales's economy. Yeah, a repeat point, money to province. Well done, well done, well done. You took it from one area of the region from the Britain and you put it in another. Well done. That's amazing. How do you do that? Taking money and giving it elsewhere. New concept on me, that one, but well done for doing it. I think it's called making redundancies and then creating jobs. So for every job made in Wales, you've just made a redundancy somewhere else. So we are applauding that, are we, in the BBC annual report? Wow. Okay. Zero net gain, I think. It says in the BBC annual report that Doctor Who made an explosive return to TV screens as two giants of entertainment, the BBC and Disney, came together to transform Doctor Who into a global franchise for UK audiences and the rest of the world. Screeching of brakes there. Hold on a minute. It was so explosive that Disney can't be bothered to sign up to season 3? Is that the explosive we're talking about? It was such an explosive return that the Mirror is talking about Shooty may be leaving at the end of season 2. Now I understand their definition of huge. They just make it up as they go along. Bit like Rtd said in San Diego, canon is what you make it. Do what you want with it. Right. They also talk about a shared creative vision to show new generations. The partners are all aligned under a bold vision from returning showrunner Rtd. Whoa, here we go again. New generations. Well, what do they mean by that? It can't be unprecedented, as they say there, because the numbers are smaller. And we used to watch Doctor Who when we were the young generation, the new ones. Partners aligned under a bold vision from RTD. There's gossip about RTD being removed, Disney being unhappy. Maybe that bold vision of political platforming and the most controversial Doctor with all his queer energy, as they call it, and gender pushing outfits has been too bold. And maybe partners aren't aligned at all. When I hear people telling me what they want me to see, that they are aligned, I know they are hiding what is really happening, which is they're not aligned at all. And they are fighting like cats in a sack. Who's going to have editorial control? How they can actually have control for a cheaper price. I think that's what's going on. But yeah, we've never heard stuff like this before. We're not mugs. So you get the continued blather about the state. This is in the annual report. The continued blather about the state of the ratings. They made us apathetic to them, as everything is so opaque now that I can't be bothered seeing these, because what do they actually mean anymore? So they're the ones that mean a bit more to me. And I know you can only see them from a distance unless you suddenly had some amazing device. But what I will say to you is the stats don't tell me that this is a brave new world. The orange there does not look larger than before. The orange there doesn't look larger between Church and Ruby Road and the non-specials and Space Babies. But that's when Disney came on board with its streaming muscle. And we had the delight of the midnight streaming for Space Babies. It's not a larger pot at all. So someone is lying in their annual Matrix mashup Ministry of Truth Happiness Patrol report for the BBC. They look the same to me. It hasn't grown. The streaming thing hasn't grown at all. So this new generation thing is a load of hocus pocus. And of course, when you mark your own homework, you actually mark your own complaints as well. And of course, this was shown recently, and we had it in our detox last week. Doctor Who episode featuring kiss between five-phrased Ncuti Gatwa and another man cleared by BBC. Right. I'm not bothered about the gay kiss per se. I need to say that because some people don't know me. I am gay myself, so I have skin in the game, but I also have skin in the game. I am a Doctor Who fan, and I know what Doctor Who should be producing and presenting. And I know that the Doctor's character has always been asexual until a certain person called RTD appeared on the scene. Under RTD and then onwards, it's been a completely different game. So if anyone wants to quote me, the Doctor's always been sexual, you need to quote me something from before the McGann movie. Okay? So I've got no problem with the gay kiss. I have a problem with the gay kiss as in it's out of character. It didn't fit. It just was a terrible sign that this, because part of the complaint somebody made was the relationship between the Doctor and the character Rogue was presented with inappropriate sexual innuendo. I mean, they were talking about dusting spaceships. I hated the tropes about, one of the gay stereotypes would be the one who does the housewife stuff. There was all that. And developed at speed was the relationship, which the complainant thought was concerning. Well, yes, it's a 45-minute episode. He forgets about his 19-year-old innocent, vulnerable companion and goes off in the bushes with a bloke. This has never happened in Doctor Who before. So my complaint would have been, it's out of character. You're sexualizing the Doctor. You are changing the brand. Go and make another Queer as Folk show. Right? That's what I would be saying. But they made the complaint, but it's been cleared. And as I'm saying with the BBC annual report, well, you're marking your own homework, aren't you? I mean, I think there are some questions to be answered. It's not about whether you should ever show a gay or lesbian kiss on TV. That argument's gone decades ago. The argument's about whether you're allowed to change a brand, a bit like making James Bond kiss a man and suddenly say he pashes on men. Would you do that? Is that allowed? Is that acceptable? That's how fundamental and significant this was. It was a seminal moment. And the argument from the complainant body within the BBC said, the kiss was likely to go over the heads of children and defended the speed of the Doctor's romance. The ECU considered the sexual innuendo to be towards the mildest end of the spectrum, and in any case likely to go over the heads of children, while the development of the relationship served the needs of a fast-moving plot and was unlikely to strike viewers of any age as a model for interpersonal relationships. It was a wham bam, thank you, ma'am. It was a one night stand kind of vibe. It kind of undersold gay relationships in the worst way possible, which is that's the stereotype. That's what people used to think was going on, that gay men were promiscuous. Oh, let's just show it in 2024. Written by a gay man, thinking this is what you show to a family audience with kids. That's where the complaint should have gone, but the BBC have poo-pooed it and sent it away. So, of course, this is the great BBC annual report, Ministry of Truth, and, of course, you know, they've got form on actually thinking everything's okay. And they've got form that everything's okay here. Remember this, just before the season started and we had all the big marketing hype, Doctor Who hides posts bashing the upcoming show. While those initial hidden replies might indicate the account was simply hiding the replies that featured or implied foul language, the next set puts that theory to bed. Some people just said, no thanks, and they were hidden. Some people just put an image of Shooty Gatwa and offered a rainbow-coloured pile of poo. Another posted, don't hate watch something. If you hate it so bad, at least pirate it or just don't watch it. It's that easy. And look, all of this was hidden because they wanted to do a very positive marketing ploy. Now, marketing is marketing, but marketing, when it becomes a lie, is no good. The audience were already pushing back before it started. This is before it started. Now, you've seen me come on a journey, but gosh, yeah. So, the BBC's Looking Glass, like Alice, sorry, yeah, should I call it the Matrix matchup, stitch up, matchup, mashup? I don't know what to call it anymore. It fails to say that it marks its own homework. It fails to say that people aren't happy with the program. It fails to say anything about season one, really. It fails to say much about how the press out there are not receiving this very well. It's not saying out there that people aren't talking about it anymore. Yeah, what we've got is the Terra Alpha Happiness Patrol. Do you know what? I'm going to stop taking this truth serum because I know I'm going to get lynched for it. Honesty never works. I've learned that in all my career and my life. People say, be honest. You're honest, and people don't like it. People in power hate it. So there you go, folks. More lies, lies, and damned lies from the Ministry of Truth, selling their Happiness Patrol version of propaganda about a show that is limping at best. Now, please, do like and subscribe. Do click on those notifications. I'm going to be doing a few slurry of saloons this week. This is Time Agent Brendan, checking out.